I am continuing my reading, and what I'm doing in this series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am reading in a chronological order of events, not according to publication or volume, so I will be skipping around a bit as I move along. Right now, I am finishing off the first book of Samuel. This is chapter 31. Now, just a little bit of refresher, of course. Remember, David was being chased by Saul for a while. And finally, to escape from Saul, he flees into the land of the Philistines, where he pledges his loyalty to one of the kings of the Philistines and stays there for 16 months. Then, when the Philistines march out to battle against Israel, David initially marches out with them, but is sent back. He does have an encounter with the Amalekites, but now we are going to read about this battle. The Philistines and the Israelites are coming to battle. David is still back in the land of the Philistines in the town of Ziklag. And now we get this battle between the Philistines and the Israelites. So, chapter 31. Philistines defeat Israel. Saul and 3 sons are slain. Their bodies are retrieved by Gileadites and burnt. Okay. Now, we should also remember that Saul, at least up to this point, was a great warrior. He was probably just as good a warrior as David was, but in his paranoia and when he started getting that, as it says, the evil spirit overcame him, he got weaker, and he wasn't as good, but he started off a great warrior. But anyways, right here. Now the Philistines fought against Israel, and the men of Israel fled from before the Philistines and fell down slain in Mount Gilboa. And the Philistines followed hard upon Saul and upon his sons, and the Philistines slew Jonathan and Abinadab and Malchishua, Saul's sons. And the battle went sore against Saul, and the archers hit him, and he was sore wounded of the archers. Then said Saul unto his armor-bearer, Draw thy sword, and thrust me through therewith, lest these uncircumcised come and thrust me through and abuse me. But his armor-bearer would not, for he was sore afraid. Therefore Saul took a sword and fell upon it. And when his armor-bearer saw that Saul was dead, he fell likewise upon his sword and died with him. So Saul died, and his 3 sons and his armor-bearer, and all his men that came that same day together. This is an interesting. Saul is saying that it apparently was a common practice among the Philistines to mutilate the bodies of the kings, of the leaders of their enemies. And it's not just, it's like, if Saul was still alive when they got there, they would kind of torture him to death, beat him, cut him up, all that stuff. And Saul's saying, let me be dead before they get here, so that I don't have to go through that. I don't think he's saying, don't let people say that I was killed by a Philistine. It was, don't let me be tortured. Let me die before that happens. And when he kills himself, the armor-bearer, who would be kind of his main servant, his bodyguard, his main bodyguard, his personal bodyguard, he kills himself because if the Philistines come up and they find Saul dead, they are likely to do to him what they would have done to Saul. But no, also I do like that he didn't want to kill Saul. He was afraid to commit that act. That it felt wrong to him, just like David wouldn't kill Saul. It felt wrong to him. Although I will have to say that in this case, I don't think that they were unjustified. Saul is already wounded to the point of death. He's been shot by the archers, so he's got arrows in him. He's dead anyways. And so making it quick so that he doesn't have to be tortured by the Philistines, I think was a perfectly proper thing. But anyways, verse 7. And when the men of Israel that were on the other side of the valley, and they that were on the other side Jordan, saw that the men of Israel fled, and that Saul and his sons were dead, they forsook the cities and fled, and the Philistines came and dwelt in them. And it came to pass on the morrow, when the Philistines came to strip the slain, that they found Saul and his 3 sons fallen in Mount Gilboa. And they cut off his head, and stripped off his armor, and sent into the land of the Philistines round about to publish it in the house of their idols, and among the people. And they put his armor in the house of Ashtaroth, and they fastened his body to the wall of Bethshan. See, this just confirms what I was saying about them torturing. They were not going to treat him well. Now, in verse 6, it does say that all his men died, right? Saul, his 3 sons, his armor bearer, and all his men died. So not the entire army of Israel, but his company died. They were in Mount Gilboa. There were other armies of the Israelites on the other mountain. You know, you have the Mount Gilboa, you have a valley, and then you have another mountain. And the other Israelites see Saul fall in battle. And they get scared and they abandon the entire area. They leave the cities empty. So the Philistines are able to take the cities. But then they take him, as I said, they cut off his head, they mutilate his body, hang it up on the wall. Just not a good thing. Anyways, verse 11. And when the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead heard of that which the Philistines had done to Saul, all the valiant men arose and went all night and took the body of Saul and the bodies of his sons from the wall of Bethshan, and came to Jabesh and burnt them there. And they took their bones and buried them under a tree at Jabesh, and fasted 7 days. I like this. Now, Jabesh Gilead, this of course is on the eastern side of the Jordan River. So they hear about what the Philistines have done to Saul. And unlike the rest of Israel who retreats and flees, they sneak in. It doesn't say they fought anybody. They might have, they might not have. I get the impression that they just snuck in, retrieved the bodies of Saul and his 3 sons, and they bring them back to Jabesh. But they don't just bury them, because if they buried them, then the Philistines could come and dig them back up and remutilate them. So they burn them and then bury the bones, because bones are very hard to burn. But they bury the bones because the Philistines aren't going to dig up bones. They're not going to. There's no just displaying bones isn't going to be anything. And this is a way of preventing the Philistines from desecrating the bodies anymore. So I like these men of Jabesh Gilead. These guys were good, honorable men. But that is the end of the first book of Samuel and the end of King Saul. Now my next video will be the 10th chapter of 1 Chronicles, which is also the death of Saul. We'll revisit that story. Then we move into 2 Samuel and continue on with 1 Chronicles, because they parallel each other with the story of David. So I will see you then.